All right, we are on chapter 8, section 8.3-1, and today we're going to be dealing with graphs of sines, of cosines, including amplitude and vertical translations. So we've done with translations in Algebra 2. Now we're going to start incorporating them into our sine and cosine functions. So when we are dealing with changes in amplitude, we're going to have y is equal to a times sine of x, and y is equal to a times cosine of x. Just so that we recall what amplitude is, it's just the distance from the midline to reaching its maximum point, and also then going down and reaching its minimum point as well. There's an algebraic way to find the amplitude. It was the maximum minus the minimum, all divided by 2, and that will give us the overall amplitude. So when we are graphing these guys, I always find that it's most helpful if we start by graphing its parent function. So the parent function for sine of x, we're always going to start with 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and a 2 pi. And our range is going up to 1 and then a negative 1. So here is our sine of x graph. I'm just going to leave it with a dashed line. Now here we have an amplitude of a 2. In this case it says negative 2. This negative actually means that we're going to flip our graph over the x-axis. So we're flipping over the x-axis. So I'm just going to start with flipping our graph over the x-axis first. So here is our new graph. Right, it looks like here that our midline is at y is equal to 0. So then with our amplitude, we're going to go all the way up to a positive 2 and then go down to a negative 2. So in this case, we're going to start at 0. We're going to go down to a negative 2. Back to 0, all the way up to a positive 2, and then back to 0. And this is our new function. Alright, moving on to B. Looks like we are not dealing with any negatives. So our amplitude in this case is just 3. Again, I would start with graphing your parent function. Okay. So we're still dealing with sine, so this is what our parent function looks like. Again, it looks like our midline is at y is equal to 0. We're just amping our graph up to 3. So I'm going to create new tick marks on my y-axis. I'm going to start at 0, going all the way up to 3, back down to 0, going down to a negative 3, and then back up to 0. So right here is our new function. Okay, same thing with cosine. Looks like our amplitude in this case is just 2. So again, I'm going to start with my parent function. Now we're dealing with cosine, so our function's different this time. There's my parent function of cosine of x. Again, we're just amplifying it up to 2, so I'm just going to create 2 up there and a negative 2 down here. Our midline is still y is equal to 0. So here is our new graph of y is equal to 2 times cosine of x. There we go. Alright, for part D, you notice that there's a negative in front of that 4, so we are going to be flipping over the x-axis. Okay, and it looks like our amplitude is at 4. So again, start by graphing your parent function. Oops. Again, we are dealing with cosine. So this is our parent function. I'm going to first start by flipping over my x-axis. So my new flipped graph is going to look something like this. Okay, our midline is still at y is equal to 0, so I'm just going to amplify everything to 4. Okay, so actually my first point is going to start at a -4. We're just going down 4 from our midline of 0. Still going to have that point there on my x-axis. I'm going to go all the way up to a +4, back down here, and finally back down to a -4. So this is our new function right there. Okay, so that's all we do when we're dealing with amplitude. The next section is dealing with a phase shift. So this is our vertical translation. And when we're doing vertical translations, we're going to be looking at y is equal to sine of x time plus d, and a y is equal to cosine of x plus d as well. Now I think there was a little typo in notes. D can also be subtraction. So when we're going up, we're going to be dealing with the addition operation. When we're going down, we're going to be dealing with subtraction. So this whole entire portion is just acting on our y-axis. All right. So we have y is equal to sine of x plus 2. So in this time, we're going to go up 2. Again, I'm going to start with graphing my parent function of sine. So here we are. There's that parent function of sine of x. We're going to move up 2, so actually our new midline is at y is equal to 2. And with this, I'm just going to shift all my points up 2. So then my first point is going to start at 2. We're going to go up to 3. Go back down to 2. Go down to a 1, and then back up to 2. So here's my new function of y is equal to sine x plus 2. Again, I just took all my points and I just moved up 2. All right, moving on for B. So B has 2 different things going on. First, I'm going to say that we're going to go down 2 for a vertical translation, and then also we are dealing with an amplitude of 1/2. So again, I'm going to start by graphing my parent function. So here we are. I'm going to start by going down 2. So our new midline is going to be at y is equal to a -2. Okay, so my new points just also going down 2. Okay. Nope, we're going to go down to a -3 in this one. So here's my new graph after going down 2, having that vertical shift. The last thing is that now we have to incorporate our amplitude of 1/2. So I'm going to create a new tick mark of -1.5 and -2.5. And from our new midline of a -2, I'm going to go up 1/2 and I'm going to go down 1/2. So we're still going to start at 0, -2. Again, I'm going to go up 1/2, down 1/2 to a -2.5, and back to our midline. So here's our new function for y is equal to 1/2 sine of x minus 2. Alright, for part C, it looks like we're just having a vertical translation. We're just going to go down 3. So again, you don't have to start with your parent function. I just think it's easier to see what's going on. So now we're dealing with cosine. So this is my parent function for cosine. And we're just going to go down 3. So my new midline is going to be at y is equal to a -3. So I'm going to take all my points and I'm going to shift down 3. So we're going to start with 0, -2 as my first point. I'm going to create a new tick mark of a -4. Okay, here's our next point. It's going to go down to -4, back to a -3, and all the way back to a -2. Oops. So there is my new graph for y is equal to cosine of x minus 3. Alright, part D is a bit tricky. So we have y is equal to a -2 times cosine of x plus 1. So it looks like we're going to go up 1. We have an amplitude of 2, and then we're also going to flip over the x-axis. So again, always start with your parent function. So we're at 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and a 2 pi. Going up to a -1, or up a 1, and then going down to -1. Again, we're dealing with cosine, so this is our parent function. Okay, I'm going to start by flipping over the x-axis. So I'm going to show this guy in blue. So here's our new graph after flipping it over the x-axis. From here, I'm just going to move up 1. So our midline is actually going to be at y is equal to 1. Again, I'm just going to start by moving all my points up 1. So here we are. I'm going to go up to a 2. So there's that new function after moving up 1. Okay, that last thing I'm going to incorporate is our amplitude. So again, our new midline is at y is equal to 1. So from here, I'm just going to amp everything by 2. So my first point is going to be at a -1. Still moving back to pi over 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to go all the way up to a 3 now for midline, just shifting that 3 back here, and then all the way back to a -1. So here is my final graph for my new function of y is equal to a -2x times cosine of x plus 1.